Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Crossover. Starring Josh Johnson and Chris McGill. Featuring Christina Thorson. And of course, you, the Instagram live chat. Now, sit back and enjoy this week's edition of The Crossover. Powered by Card Ladder.
Yo. Is this a creepy background?
That's some next level marketing right there.
Yep, we are going to tackle the topic of shilling tonight in more than one way.
Hey, I always shill for the company that I founded. That's one of my mottos.
Here we go. Permissible shilling. All right. Sorry, did you say no mail days for you, Josh?
2 weeks in a row, no mail days. I'm in that waiting period with a couple things.
Yep. Yeah, me too. I'm definitely in a bit of a waiting period myself. No mail days for me either. Christina, no? Yeah, I mean, Christina and I added a big card to our collection last week, and it has been paid for, so I guess now it is safe to show it. So maybe I'll just show that.
Why don't we just wait?
Or should I wait?
You should wait.
Yeah.
I'll wait. I'm waiting. I won't have this card in hand for probably 3 to 4 months because I'm leaving it in the vault until what's wrong with you? What's the problem? Christina's giving me a death stare.
Just
Well, ask me
about it. Like, just be like, we won't get it for a while, so you'll show it when it's in hand.
I'm working out my process with the collectors in our audience.
Ask me if we have any updates, and then she can be mad at me.
Yeah, so she's gonna have her turn tonight. But anyway, I'm leaving it in the vault so that because I want to sell some cards to sort of pay back the cost of this card.
Yep.
So like I'm leaving the card in the vault until that process is completed, sort of to discipline myself into doing it, to force myself to do it.
If you reveal a mail day of a card in a vault, I will throw my phone across the room.
Well, look, we have a question about that. Let me just
Yeah.
Fucking tell him, Josh. Like, oh, I got a mail day, but it's not really here. It's in a vault. Like, shut up until you get the card in hand. No one cares about your NFT purchase that's on your computer.
Yeah. I will throw my phone. No, seriously, ask me if we have any updates. I want her to yell at me.
Hold on, let me go. Let's do this. Let's tackle this premature question really quick. All right.
Is this the first ever pre question?
Yeah,
this is good.
Super duper pre-question. It goes like this. Frozen Inferno Collectibles says, have you truly acquired a card if you haven't actually held it in your own hands? For example, buying a card that resides in a vault or buying a card and having it sent straight to a vault without taking personal delivery of it first.
I feel like you should look up the definition of the word acquired. It probably means like physically having it in your hand or something. Yeah. Maybe not.
Yeah, but it's difficult though when you're on the receiving end because you just got your mail day, your excitement, or you didn't get a mail day, but your excitement's the highest it's ever going to be, right? So
I think I would say you have acquired this card. I would go as far as to say that, but that's not really in the spirit of the crossover. So that's why I'm saying don't show it. You have acquired it though. You've paid for it. It's safe somewhere, and it will be delivered to you eventually.
It will.
I would agree with that, but this isn't called acquired days.
Acquired day?
It's called mail days.
Show us your acquisitions.
Acquisition day?
Yeah.
All right, Josh. Do we have any updates?
I'm working on 2 gigantic things.
Yeah.
And
yes,
I'm gonna start talking about them in great depth starting right now.
Joe, bear it for all to see.
I'm gonna shut off the modem.
Okay.
Was canceled mid Josh talking.
One of them is gonna be just so massive that I think I'm being serious. I think it's gonna be the biggest change in the hobby been in this world in a long time.
Dude, I agree with you, man. I'm so pumped for that. God, how long? Just can we get an ETA? Just a realistic ETA?
Man, like a month.
Yeah, a month.
Ooh.
So again, we don't have an update. We're working on an update. So why are we talking about something we do not yet have?
I was trying to take the heat off Chris. That's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Well, both of you are in the doghouse for the entire weekend. So congratulations.
Good. Now I can watch football in peace. Thank God.
Oh no, because Christina's doghouse means I'm going to be sending customers to you all weekend, especially on Sunday.
Okay, Christina, we have lots of questions.
All right, let's go.
Thank you for that, though. That was loud in my ear.
Oh.
Are you going to address the fact you don't have Christmas lights and you're back at? This is like a nostalgic episode, but there's no Christmas lights, so I can't quite get excited about it.
They're actually behind these posters is a giant tree with you can't even see the green. It's just so many lights wrapping around it, but you'll have to imagine it in your head.
And this is for the upcoming Christmas tree or from last year?
It was from Christmas in July.
Yeah, Christina celebrates Christmas in July.
Got it.
So, yeah. All right. Let's get to some questions, if there's nothing else. Get to the second question, I should say. All right. First question. There were some things that happened in the NBA. And the first one is this. Mostly 90s basketball card says, can we get Josh's reaction to the Yusuf Nurkic trade?
Did you listen to Bill Simmons on this?
I think I did.
He basically hates everything the Suns do, which I'm not sure if I think that's good. I think that's good for me. I don't know. I feel like we didn't get much back for a solid piece of a young player. Nurkic. I don't know why people in Phoenix are excited about Nurkic. That guy hasn't played more than 40 games ever. He always is hurt. He averages 10 points and 9 rebounds. I mean, whatever. I don't know. I guess they were just trying to get rid of Aiden. I would have expected them to get a decent bit more, but I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Bill on this, honestly. I think Ayton as an asset was worth more than what they got back for him. But
yeah,
that's the best they could do. That's the best they could do.
Freaking now I have to watch Grayson Allen. Ugh, that guy sucks.
Chris Cards KC says, please get Josh to commit to getting a tattoo if the Suns win a ring.
I'm so glad Chris is the one that asked that, because him and we're the sad Suns fans every year, rooting for them together, and everyone else doesn't care. Only if he gets a tattoo as well. How about that?
Well, what would the tattoo be of? I think that's the pertinent question.
The gorilla.
The Suns mascot?
Yeah, if you know me at all, I'm the last person you'd ever see get a tattoo, so I just am so out of my element with any of this discussion. I don't even know what to do.
Well, then I bet Chris can come up with a good one for you guys.
Yeah, maybe just the logo, on my leg or something.
The logo on your leg, yeah. I mean, you want to put it in a hideable place too, though.
What about
maybe the Suns?
Oh, go ahead.
The Suns logo on your right cheek.
What if you just had it right, like Suns on a tramp stamp right above your crack?
Okay, this has gone way off the rails.
I feel like there's so many places on the body that a man is not allowed to get a tattoo, and that's probably one of them.
Okay, and then there was one question, I forgot to write it down, but I remembered from my story post. Somebody wrote in and said, was Damian Lillard a better fit on the Milwaukee Bucks or the Miami Heat?
I think this one is more exciting. Who isn't excited about Lillard and Giannis playing together? I mean, it feels like the Blazers were already not good, and now they're going to be about the same, and now we get to see Lillard and Giannis. It kind of feels like a win for NBA fans.
Yeah, it does. It is. It's probably the most exciting outcome And like as a fan rooting for other teams, I'm more worried about
Right.
Lillard joining the Bucks than I am about him joining the Heat. So
Exactly.
I think that.
Are you more worried about? But you're obviously more worried about them having Lillard over Drew Holiday.
I am, but I don't think the gap is as big as everybody's making it out to be.
Yeah, I mean, Drew's obviously a better defender, but Lillard is like just a massive game changer statistically, and like in the fourth quarter, his stats usually jump up a bit. He's like he can score the ball.
Yeah, no, he's awesome. That's great. That's a great like late off season move there to supercharge what's going to be a great NBA season.
Did you see my post about this? This is my take on this. The NBA media and take maestros are just worthless unless they're reacting to all news that's already happened. Like, what's the point of these guys? They were talking about so many. I heard a lot of Raptors talk. I heard a lot of Heat. Nobody even talked about how in the last 2 weeks, apparently he decided to open up his trade request to multiple teams. Like, where was all this reporting? And obviously, there's nothing to report if nothing gets out. Therefore, just let's wait to see. Because remember, you and I were getting pushed to like, well, where do you think Giannis is going? And we were both like, I don't know. Kind of feels like he's not going anywhere because none of this seems accurate, and we're just gonna wait. Like just wait.
Yep, I agree. Should I hate on this trade a little bit?
Yeah, go. I mean, I was thinking of wait because we always do this. We say something good, then we say something bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, so let me just unload a little bit of hate. I think that this trade is going to create huge chemistry issues for the Bucks because okay, so if you look at like the two-man game of Jokic and Murray, those two guys put up on average 31 field goal attempts combined per game, 16 to Murray, 15 to Jokic. So you have one guy in Jokic who's willing to let, somebody else get more shot attempts than him. And he's more of a facilitator. And then you have Harden and Embiid, both players former MVPs, but Harden was willing to be the facilitator and sort of let the offense more so center around Embiid's scoring ability, which probably is a wise move. Well, last season, Lillard averaged 21 field goal attempts per game, and Giannis averaged 20. So we're talking about 41 field goal attempts per game, 10 more than Jokic and Murray put up. Who's going to put up more field goal attempts than the other one? Who's going to be the engine of that offense? And I think it has to be Dame. I think Dame is a more prolific, talented scorer, and offense is such an important engine of his game. Whereas Giannis, if he takes more of an Anthony Davis approach and conserves more of his energy for defense, that can maybe help rectify some of the defensive losses. But what if Giannis doesn't want to do that? What if Giannis doesn't want to go down to 15 or 14 field goal attempts per game? What if he doesn't want his points per game to go down to 22 or 23 points per game like Jokic's are, 24 points per game? Somebody's going to have to be the Harden. Somebody's going to have to be the Jokic. Somebody's going to have to be the secondary scorer in this tandem, I believe. And who's it going to be? I think that might lead to some friction at some point during the season that might be tough to overcome, especially if the Bucks strategically decide to make it Damian Lillard.
Yeah, this is also what's worrying me about the Suns this year. Like, they've got three guys that you've got this problem for with adding Beal to the mix, and they already had this problem last year, and they're getting rid of, the more role type-ish player with Ayton, and now and Chris Paul is more willing to facilitate. He was willing to run the offense. Now they're bringing in someone else instead of him that just wants to score, so this is going to be tough for the Suns. And yeah, it's a good point, because I've always liked traditionally the teams with like one super duper star at the top, and then sort of everyone else falls in line. That's traditionally how basketball has been run, with Michael Jordan, LeBron. I know the Heat ran their experiment, and it worked because Wade, like you said, was willing to come down a lot in stats. Like he went from 30 points a game to like 23, 24, like you said. And that's a big jump down. And Kevin Love came way down, right? Like that's just how it has to be. So to think that these guys are both going to average 30 is just not realistic. Someone, like you said, I think it's got to be Giannis, man. Like you said, Lillard can't. This is what Lillard does. Giannis at least can do stuff on other parts of the court.
Absolutely. And then you have the Chris Middleton angle to this too. Like, so Tyler says the biggest issue is if Middleton can stay healthy and revert back to what he used to be. And my friend Kevin was pointing out a little earlier today when I was talking to him about this topic. He said, what happens to Middleton? Does Middleton sort of become the Kevin Love or the Chris Bosh in this equation? And like, how does he deal with that? Is he going to be okay with that role? Especially if, like, you know, Giannis and Lillard are, what if they take up 35, 38 field goal attempts per game? I mean, how's he going to get his shots up? So
that's what made the Nuggets, like, people really want to look at these superstar names and they want to pick the teams that have the most top heavy rosters because it's like, it's easier to rattle the names. But the team that won the championship had one mega superstar and then everyone else really filled their roles super nice. You know, in the chat, someone mentioned Aaron Gordon. Is Chris Middleton willing to be the Aaron Gordon? Aaron Gordon was like, he had to sacrifice a lot, and he came from like being one of the better players in the Magic, and now he's basically like a primary ball defender, and then he has like one or two good games in the playoffs where we notice offensively. But other than that, he had to kind of like play his role. And then like Bruce Bowen, guys like that who come in and they give you one. He basically won a finals game with that one game 4, I think it was. So like, you got to have the guys fill the roles. You can't have it consistently scoring 30 a night running the offense.
Definitely. Okay. And one more sports question before we get into some hobby topics. Yeah Man Card says, what is your hottest take for the rest of the football season? And I can give mine if you want to take a minute to think about yours.
I saw yours. Why don't you read off were those your 4?
I gave 4, and I let people vote on which one was the hottest. So the 4 were, number 1, Brock Purdy will lead the 49ers to 15-plus wins. Number 2 was the Bears will lose 15 or more games.
That's not a hot take, dude. That's just like math.
That's a lukewarm take. Number 3 is that the Steelers will miss the playoffs. Shout out to them. And number 4 is that the Vikings will end the season. The 0-3 Vikings will end the season with a winning record.
With a winning record. They put up some nice stats. Whoever would have lost that game, I felt like if the Chargers or the Vikings would have lost that game, they're still in a decent shape because the Chargers, I think, have one turnover this season and they're averaging like 27 points a game, and they're 1-2. Hot take. I think the Cardinals are like kind of good. My hot take is that they're going to be like 8-9 or something. Like, they look fucking good. I usually like hate watching them every year because they annoy but they're good, man. They like beat up on the Cowboys.
Yeah, I know. The Cowboys like never really were in that game, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, I mean, their offensive line was good. Like, Paris Johnson looked good. Parsons had 1 sack, but he didn't really like. I thought their defensive line was supposed to be like the freaking 70s Rams or something. They didn't do much. Hot take. I'll just keep this train going. Herbert's gonna win the MVP.
There we go.
I think he looks really good again. I mean, it's the Vikings, so I'm not like super excited, but he just looks so good this year.
Yeah, love that one. Okay, now we are cooking. All right, there's some good hot takes for you guys. Carvin says Justin Fields will not be the starting QB by the 12th game.
Dude. Okay, I don't think I've ever gotten your take on Fields. You're not like the biggest Bears fan, or you just don't want to be because they're so bad. What do you think about Fields?
Yeah, no, that's accurate. And but I am a Bears fan. I was born into it, and I can't change it. Fields, man, I was really excited about him last year, and he's trying to adapt to a system that I don't think is maximizing his talents. And I also think that just being drafted by the Chicago Bears, sort of like being born into Chicago Bears fandom, puts you at a massive disadvantage, just because of the Bears curse. I don't know, because the Bears the Bears quietly have become the new Detroit Lions of the NFL. And I just think he's in a really bad position. But I also think he's struggling a lot too. I think it's just bad all around. I don't know, man. I think he's such a special. He's among quarterbacks who are mobile. I think he might be the most talented rushing quarterback in the league, and I just feel like it's malpractice practice to not maximize that part of his game.
Yeah.
So.
Didn't he have like 3 rushing attempts in one of these games? And it's like, what are we doing? Why are we running this guy? So is Eberflus getting the flamethrower in Chicago?
I guess. I don't know. It's hard to know who to fault.
Yeah.
There's enough to go around.
Did you listen to I'm gonna pivot. Did you listen to Ryan Russillo's pod with Jordan Palmer?
I did not.
Do you know who that is?
Is he on the Chargers?
No, Jordan Palmer is Carson Palmer's brother, and he's not in the league anymore. He is now he's like a highly respected quarterback coach, like a private coach. Like some of these players will hire him to work with them in the off season. So he's kind of like Hakeem Olajuwon, but young.
Okay.
He's worked with like Burrow. He's working with Caleb Williams. He's worked with big names. Anyways, they were talking about the Dolphins, and Ryan was like, "What? Just what is going on? How is it working so well? How are they getting receivers so open? Why is their offense so efficient?" And it was a really great interview just because I feel like, you just keep, it's because they're fast and McDaniel's smart. It's like, okay, but like what's going on? And he was talking about like the motion offense and how they're basically like having people move every single time, and it's like causing the defense to kind of get into bad matchups, and then the timing with Tua over the middle and the speed. He's basically like throwing guys open and they're fast, so like that combo is kind of working out nicely over the middle. It was just a good interview, so I recommend listening to that because the Dolphins, man, 70 points, like 70 points. That's like we just sort of like moved on, but that's fucking insane.
Yeah, it is. Dolphins are very, very good offensively. All right.
Bills Dolphins this week.
By the way, I have the Bills.
You in a shootout?
I have the Bills winning 34-27.
So yeah, man, you trust the Bills defense enough?
Enough. Yeah, I think the Bills defense is enough, and I think their offense is enough to stay on the field, put up points, and really, put pressure on the Dolphins defense. See, here's the thing. The Dolphins defense gave up 34 points to the Chargers in week 1, and they only won that game by 2. And the and the Dolphins beat the Patriots by a touchdown, and then they had their big blowout win. So I'm looking at the totality of their win profile, and it's very impressive beating up on the second worst team in the NFL by 50 points. But you know what? The Bills just beat 2 bad teams by 34 and 28 points. So, the Bills have 2 big wins on their resume as well. So I like the Bills.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game.
It is. All right. Next topic. We have 3 questions on this topic. Card Cow Capital says, let's talk about shill bidding and influencers. And JJJ Gambino says, why do people that get exposed for shilling, most notably bigger accounts, always get a pass? Is it because it is the predominant form of fraud in this and other free auction markets, thus now normalized, and is an expected variable of any auction purchase now, kind of like an auction house premium that is normalized, just to have to pay or other reasons? Thanks, Crossover Crew. All Sports 1 says, please discuss the disturbing stone throwing. The disturbing stone throwing that goes on in the hobby. All right, so we've got 3 different points of view here. And what do you want to? I didn't involve any names.
Right.
Since it's become a public topic, and since Shea has posted to his own story an apology in which he says that he did in fact buy back some of his cards that he had consigned at auction with a consignment outfit. I think it's okay. I think he's stated it publicly. I think we need to say what happened as well. But this is a delicate topic. I think Shea made a big mistake, a big error, and I think there's a lot to unpack here, but it's also scary to be in his shoes. All people have made mistakes, some mistakes larger than others, but it's scary when it just feels like the entire community that you belong to, that possesses your livelihood. It's a pretty scary feeling when it feels like the walls are caving in on you. So I have a level of sympathy for that, but it in no way excuses or permits or tolerates the behavior. And we'll get into that behavior more, but let me give you a chance to comment or to react to that, Josh.
Yeah, the reason the shilling one is tough is because there's so many different variations of shilling and varying opinions on like which is acceptable and which isn't. But I think the easiest line to draw for me here is that bidding on your own auctions is 100% black and white, no go. That's a big no for me, at least. Because it's like you sent your card to a consignment with the understanding that you are not going to bid on your own items. Whether or not you pay for it, even like that doesn't even matter. Because if you're driving up interest in a card that you own that you're not supposed to be bidding on, eBay won't let you. There's a reason eBay doesn't let you bid on a card that you cannot bid on your own item. So that extends over to if you're sending your card to consignment, you still can't bid, right? I mean, it's kind of the equivalent of like having a friend bid on it for you, but it's still, it's a black and white for me there.
Yeah, or it's like listing what if we take out the consignment aspect of it? What if you just put your own card on your own eBay page and then you buy it for yourself?
You can't.
It's
eBay won't let you bid on it.
Yeah. It's absurd.
Because it's like, okay, fine, you're willing to pay for it, and maybe people use that as the definition of like shilling is that if you pay for it, it's not shilling, right? Some people might say that. I don't agree, because in this case, even if you pay for it, you still raise the bid price of this item more than it would have sold for, and you potentially and probably own other similar cards to this, and you've probably raised some of the values of those cards. So you're manipulating and deceiving the entire market by doing this. So this is a hard no. He obviously was definitely in the wrong for this, and his apology came out, and then some other stuff came out, and it became personal. But that's a hard no. The other one is like, I don't know, if it's you own a copy of this card, let's say, and another one is up for auction. It's not your auction. There's no affiliation, and you think, hey, I would rather pay and buy a second one than let this go for X price, right? Is that shilling? And that's the one that's like, even it's pretty gray, right? Like, I'm bidding it up. I don't really want to win this card, but I would pay for it. I don't know. What is your thought on that last one?
Yeah. So defensive bidding as a related topic. But there's still a lot about the other situation that I want to talk about and get into the weeds a little bit on. On defensive bidding, I get really concerned about it when the person who's doing the defensive bidding doesn't win the item. Right. So if you're defensive bidding and you win the item, okay, fine. You have to pay for it. You set a comp is that a true market comp? It's like, and there's a difference in intent. If you're defensive bidding not because you want to collect multiple copies of the card, but you're doing defensive bidding because you want to protect the price of yours, those are two different things.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if you do defensive bidding and then you don't win, it starts to feel like you've driven up the price of something in an unnatural way that's manipulating the market. It certainly starts to feel that way. And then I want to take that back to the topic of bidding on your own cards that you've consigned elsewhere or in any other format, bidding on or buying your own cards. There were two different situations. There were some situations where he won cards that he bid on, per the blowout thread that I read. But then there were other situations where he didn't win. And sometimes he was a lower bidder, and I think in one of the situations he was like the second highest bidder. And so then even those two things are different. So if you win back your own card, you didn't injure anybody by forcing them to pay more money on that particular auction. All right. You didn't injure anybody in that way. You did injure the market because you created a questionable comp that doesn't really reflect the true demand for this item. Because at the end of the day, if you wanted the item, you would have just not sent it to auction. Okay? So it's kind of a weird argument
At least
to say
I needed money, but then I spent it to buy my card back. It was like, that doesn't make any sense.
No, and you're only losing money because you're just paying yourself, but then you also have to pay the consignment in the marketplace there fees. It's tough to understand the logic there. But there could be like a last second panic or whatever. But then that's different than bidding on your own card and not even winning it. And it's even more egregious if you're the second highest. So basically whoever won your card had to pay more money because you bid on it. I mean, I think we can start to see what the problem is, because it's one thing, I completely agree with that. Like, if we just take a step back, this is so easy to process because there's just a clear, hard and fast rule and a well-established hobby norm, which is simply what you laid out. Do not bid on or buy your own cards, whether they are for sale through your page, for sale through your friend's page, for sale through a consignment outfit. That's a hard and fast, easy rule that I hope and I believe the vast majority of us subscribe to and follow. Okay, so that's easy. But then the question becomes like, it sort of gets to a gray area. Like, well, why is it that way? And what if I win as opposed to losing it, and so forth. So then you have to start thinking through, well, who gets injured by this? What's the harm done? And then you start to walk through that, and you say, well, you can end up creating a fake comp essentially for the card. You can end up, and then that has a ripple effect of injuring the market and injuring people who want to buy that card at a later time, relying on that comp when those people don't know, when they're looking at the comp, that the person who bought this card is the same person who sold it. And if they did know that, I don't think they would rely on that comp. So there's a deceptive nature to that hurts the market. And then you are also, if you're bidding and not winning, then you're injuring the people that you're driving up the price for, because you're making the price artificially high and you're not even winning your card. So, then you start thinking through who's injured, what are the real problems here. But the biggest overarching problem is just that it's also done deceptively, partially because eBay blocks out IDs, but it's done deceptively. We don't even know that it's happening. And if you were doing this action, would you be comfortable with it having a disclaimer on this auction that says the person who is selling this card is also bidding on it? I think people would stay away from that auction if they saw that, because it begs the question, why are you selling it then? If you're just bidding on it, you should have never sold it then. If you wanted it back, why are you selling it? Doesn't make sense. So that's sort of fleshing out for people who might have questioned, people who legitimately might wonder, hey, in a different industry, it's okay if you send your car to auction or something, and then you can actually go bid on it, and in that world it's permitted or something like that. Well, those are some of the reasons why we have strong norms against it in the hobby. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I keep thinking of when we had this discussion around like card restoration altering, I just keep thinking back to like, if someone in the hobby was looking over my shoulder as I'm bidding on these cards, what would they think? And it just is so obvious to me, like all of these, it's like, no thanks, I just don't want to see it. And it just sort of like, it just really like perverts the natural order of how collecting is supposed to work, where it's a pretty simple process. I'm trying to bid cards to add to my collection, and I'm going to bid to a certain price that I feel uncomfortable paying, and I acquire that card, and I own it. And all this discussion, all this stuff we're talking about has nothing to do with like me adding cards to my collection and paying for things in the secondary market. It's just all these like perverted topics around ways to like manipulate this, make a little bit of extra money here, defend my other cards. Like none of that really has anything to do with the ultimate goal of adding to my collection. Now, to your point at the beginning, if your goal is to add duplicate copies, obviously, you're entitled to like win too. But it's really about like your intent of what you're trying to do in the hobby. And anything outside of that, outside of those main lines of, collecting cards and buying things, it just gets gross. And I just feel like the more, I don't know if we're going to get to this or what, but the more we add influencers and investors and flippers into the mix, the more this just gets more perverted, in my opinion. It just gets more muddy. I see content from these influencers, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do, because they're making their actions towards their own personal gain financially and not for the collection. So now I'm influenced and confused. What is the rule? Where are the lines? What is the gray? What's black and white? Because the people who are the ones that are supposed to be influencing me, creating the content, setting the, unofficial rules in the space, if they don't even know what's going on and they're not following what is like the normal guidelines of collecting cards, it just becomes a big mess. So this is why, this is one of the main reasons we've been so critical of influencers. It's not that we don't want the space to grow. It's that we don't want the space to grow in this way. We don't think it's organic and natural, and it's not sustainable. And this is what happens. You trust an influencer, they come in, they do a little bit of good, then they take us 3 steps back by doing something like this, and it's like, we end up losing more than we ever gained in the beginning.
Yeah. That's to build on that. Being an influencer or a content creator, or even just a high-profile, highly visible collector, means that there's a higher level of responsibility that person has voluntarily undertaken to the community and to uphold the ethics and the standards and the norms of the community. And I've seen some pushback on this topic that I sort of addressed earlier, but I've seen pushback that sort of says, well, is this really so wrong? What's so wrong with buying back your own card?
Right.
I've seen some pushback to that effect. Well, it's very difficult when influencers are advocating that point of view, because as an influencer, they have an audience, they have people who look up to them and listen to them and who are taking advice and cues from them. And when influencers are advocating that position, it's granting permission to others to do it. And I don't think I've ever invoked Kant's categorical imperative on this show, but now we will. The categorical imperative, in a nutshell, is only do what is universalizably doable. Don't do something that you couldn't, that morally, if everybody did it, it would create a problem. That I butchered it. I should have looked it up before this show. I haven't thought about but that's the gist of the categorical imperative, which I haven't thought about in years, but this brings it up, is that don't, if you're going to do something, it should be okay for everybody else to do it.
If everyone did it, would we be fucked?
Exactly. And I think in this case, I think it's really hard. That's good, Steph. I think in this case, it's really hard to envision a hobby where we just have everybody winning back their own cards at auction. That's not fair. That would be a bit of market chaos, I think. I think it's especially incumbent upon influencers. It's incumbent upon everyone, but especially on influencers and public personalities, to get this stuff right and to set a good standard ethically.
Yeah. I really like that last, whatever that thing's called, that theory, because it's true. It feels similar to, like, if a random person was watching you, how would they feel about it? Because if everyone started doing this, to your point, or that's at least how I'm translating it, if everyone was doing this, it would be chaos. I think that's what you said. It's just like, it would be madness. People would just there'd be no true comps. Like, the market, we sort of put up with it, right? We sort of put up with it because it seems pretty infrequent, or it's like behind closed doors. Most people say no to it, so we're just like, there's a little bit of it. We'll just deal with it, whatever. I don't know, but if it was more apparent. It feels like it's happening a lot more than we'd like to know, just because he got caught in this instance, or this few instances. It kind of seems like he's probably doing that a lot, or people he's associated with are doing it. And there's been a few influencers that came out and sort of, like, I don't want to say supported what he did, but like didn't really speak to it directly, saying that it's bad. Therefore, that feels to me like maybe you think it's okay, and you've probably done it yourself, and it's like, is this really a hobby I want to be a part of? Where like we don't even know if we're allowing shill bidding or we're cool with it. It just seems shitty.
Yeah, it definitely does. All right, there's another component to this, a final component that I wanted to touch on, which like the other two commenters sort of get at, which is like the idea of a person violating the hobby's ethics and getting a pass anyway because they're influential or important. And what does it mean, honestly? I wonder, what does it mean to get a pass? Because I think there's been a lot of criticism levied his way, rightfully so. But I wouldn't describe this situation as quite getting a pass based on what I've seen. But I understand where Gambino is coming from on this. He's concerned. He wants there to be standards, right? He wants there to be a sense of justice, a sense of right and wrong in our community, and so do I. And I get that. And then then the other side of it is like, when does the stone throwing go too far, or when are people making fun of this just to pile on? And but by the same token, it's good that we have these sort of self-enforcing norms in our content space, because otherwise, how do we enforce them? How do we keep our community and our ethics and our standards clear? What do you think about these topics?
Yeah, this comes up a decent amount, at least from a lot of people that I follow, where they're saying something to the effect of, why do we allow character A, B, and C to still function within the space when we know they did something bad? Why do we turn away and let it happen? I hear that, but I also feel like the fact that we talk about it so much, those people have just taken massive reputation hits, which to me is the most important thing that we have in this community. And if your reputation is taking that much damage and you're just getting clobbered on social, dude, card porn is done from what we're talking about. So it does work. We can have the effect as a community to actually completely cancel someone out based on wrongdoing. So we have that ability. So to say that it never happens is not true. It has happened. But like, what are we supposed to do? Like, call the FBI and like get these people arrested? And for some of these things, it would just be really tough to like get the law involved in all of these cases and like go after them one by one. So to me, the best we can do as a community is damage that person's reputation, which is the last thing that they want. And I think we do that. And I'm not sure how much more we as a community can do. I mean, I don't know if we went too far on this one. Shay turned it personal. So to try to deflect, maybe there's something really going on. That's not for me to say. That's a personal issue. But man, I saw a lot of people piling on, and his reputation is completely in the tank. So like, if that was the goal and that's the outcome that we wanted as a community, it seemed to have happened to Shay in this instance.
Yeah, very well said. We are like a prehistoric society in some ways, the hobby community. We don't have any systems in place. We do have a sense of norms, and we can like reach into the civil justice system or terms and services, or in extreme cases once in a while the criminal justice system.
Right.
But we really don't, like, we as a community haven't thought through things like the theory of justice. We have something as big as that. We haven't thought through that. We haven't even given a serious, and I don't know how we ever could, but we as a collective haven't given a serious thought to what are we trying to accomplish with our justice? Are we trying to rehabilitate a person so that they can reform and learn, or that sounds so condescending because that's coming from me, a highly flawed person myself. But is the purpose there to reincorporate somebody after they've had an opportunity to rehabilitate or to reflect and so forth, and to demonstrate a change? Like, is that it, or is the purpose of our justice to have retribution? and to satiate the righteous indignation of the person who's been wronged, or the multiple people who have been wronged, the community that's been wronged, the reputational damage that's happened to the community as a result of things like this. Is the purpose of our sense of justice to satisfy those feelings, and to, you know, or is the purpose of it to sort of send a signal of deterrence? Does it have a deterrence purpose to make sure that, hey, you know, this person may get a very harsh, you know, be treated very harshly by the community, but that's because it's designed to prevent the next person from violating those norms and those standards and those ethics. So, you know, we have to think that through. What is the purpose of the justice? Or is the purpose of it just to make a funny meme and to sort of laugh at the absurdity of it? But the fact remains that the justice that gets doled out in the hobby content world, it serves a functional purpose, and we clearly have not thought out how to do it. You know, and that's actually a very big question.
I mean, the reason we haven't is like, this is supposed to be an escape of a hobby. Like, we're trying to get away from laws and politics and rules and stuff. We're just trying to like buy sports cards and build collections. Like, it's supposed to be a simpler process, but you know, the introduction of money, you know, lots of money in the last few years has really made it tricky. So
yeah, I agree, it has. And
do you think the reputational damage done when you get caught from this is enough justice for the hobby, or do you think more needs to be done onto somebody?
I'm a highly flawed person who I do not feel comfortable. I'm not qualified to decide what's the right amount of justice. I'm just not. You know, I feel so uncomfortable talking about that, or even trying to. But that doesn't. I still should think about it, and I should try to figure out what I think the answer to that is. But I just find it difficult to pass judgment, and being a person who's made mistakes myself, plenty of them, plenty of dumb ones. You know, I find it hard to know what the right answer to that is. But I think reputational damage is really an interesting mechanism, because as much as a reputation can be damaged, it can also be repaired. But reputational repair takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of work, and it can never really fully be restored. But it can be repaired. And so I think that something about the mechanism of reputational justice is powerful. And, you know, there's always a sense or a possibility of a redemption, and a sense for people to take back their reputational integrity to some level. Yeah. So I like reputational justice as a mechanism, but not in this case, but in more egregious, severe cases, I do wonder if it's a powerful enough mechanism, or if you can just have people who do something horrific and then pack up and just leave. Sorry, see you guys later.
Well, it got to the point where I started to feel like what you're saying. Like I got uncomfortable going and willing to say things about Shea. You know, I've been critical of him in the past, and now that like the piling on has begun, I'm starting to be uncomfortable with like, all right, he's still a person. Like, we still need to like draw some line here and not go too far with the hate. Obviously, like, I would never do business with him in the hobby. I would never affiliate myself with him in any of my businesses. I wouldn't do any sports card deals with him. I wouldn't purchase or sell to him. You know, that's like a very cut and dry thing for me. But like, you know, as a person, I'm not gonna go much further with like saying things about him personally and stuff like that. And we have a question coming up later where you said you liked the comment about, you know, we were in this space a few years ago where everything was all positive, and now it's like it's starting to feel like we're just shitting on everything. And this feels like a little bit like that, where we're just like looking for something to just rip apart, and it just is like becoming this blood in the water feeling. Like we're just waiting for someone to slip up. We're waiting to just tear some accounts down. And some of them rightfully so, like they've built themselves up so much on the backs of something that's not organic and true. So like they're asking for it, but like, you know what I mean? It feels like we're getting a little bit, we're crossing the line and bordering on like personal with some of this stuff, and in terms of the amount of hate we're directing.
Yeah, I know. It's it's unbelievable, but like in the absence of any other mechanisms of enforcing the standards of the community, this is the one. And like to that end, I want to express a gratitude to the people who watch out for stuff like this and who take an interest in it and put a spotlight on it, because it's probably, at least for some of those people, it's probably not comfortable for them to do that either. It's a very awkward situation, but like in the absence of any other system of enforcing our beliefs and our standards, I think the mechanism we have of sort of this reputational question it's a pretty effective one, to be honest with you. I think it's a pretty effective one. And, time passes, and a person who may have made a grave mistake or done something just flat out wrong, and can reflect on that and repent on that. Time passes. All right, time passes, and there are opportunities to do the right thing in the future, and to pave a new path, so to speak. But I think actually our hobby reputational justice system, I think it actually works on balance. It's never perfect. All right, sometimes we can pile on. Sometimes we can be too soft, but on the whole, I think the system actually works pretty well, considering all things considered.
I think back to the cardboard thing. That was an incredibly efficient and effective way to remove someone from the hobby in hours, not days, hours. He was gone. He was wiped clean. But you didn't say the term, but you were thinking, you're grateful for the watchdogs. We can't say watchdogs anymore. We have to say like non-anonymous watchdogs, or whatever the term. We have to clarify that now, because now we don't want watchdogs who are anonymous.
Yeah, the scary thing about that scenario, the many scary things about it, but one of them was that this has the risk of painting watchdogs in a bad light, because here's a watchdog who was watching and learning and then doing these things that they were reporting on. And it gets especially complicated because, notwithstanding the incredible, unbelievable allegations of scams that were being run, notwithstanding that, there was good work. Granted, a lot of it was fueled by others, but some of it was done by whoever was operating that account at the time. There was good work that was done from that account, nonetheless. And there was some inaccuracies too, but I mean, I remember when the card porn account accused Card Ladder of being sponsored by PWCC, and we weren't. And then I presented the information, and the account retracted. This stuff gets tricky and messy fast, and the watchdogs, man, they serve an important role in this hobby. They really do. But then you get the question of who watches the watchdogs. Okay. I don't want to rehash that.
At least we know the watchdog persona has continued past cardboard with this. At least with this scenario, it's still useful, and people are still willing to fill the role.
For sure. All right. You referred to this question, so let's do this question next. This comes from the 615 Collector. Are we now in the exact opposite position of the boom and the peak, when at that time it seemed like the popular thing to do was to talk everything up, and now it seems like the popular thing to do is to talk everything down? And if so, is this the perfect contrarian indicator?
What do you mean by that last part?
You know what? That's a good question. And rather than try and think, let me just see if I can. Okay, a contrarian indicator is a form of market indicator that tells a trader that it might be a good time to do the opposite.
Yeah. That's what I was. That's what I thought it was. I was trying to make sure. This is like the buy when others are fearful and that, or be greedy when others are fearful.
From the great hobbyist Warren Buffett.
Man, we were all Warren Buffetts 2 years ago, and I feel like we just can't do it anymore. None of us have lived up to that persona. It's a fail. We tried. We did it for 2 years. We were Mungers and Buffetts running around left and right. I think it is an indicator, man. I think it is, like, I don't know. Or at least that's how I function internally. That's how I think about things. The more people jump to one thing, I just have to, like, mentally balance it out myself in my mind. I just have to do it. The more people do one thing, I want to say the opposite. Everyone was all over Dion last week. Oh my God, Dion could do no wrong. I just couldn't help myself. This guy sucks. And now that everyone thinks he sucks after he got blown out, I'm like, he's not so bad. He'll probably be pretty good next year. You know what I mean? Like, I'm already over it. I'm already over hating Dion because he got housed so badly on national TV. Absolute destruction. Had to follow up on that. Absolutely got housed by Oregon. The game was over in the first 5 minutes. Now I'm like, you know what? I feel bad for Dion. He looks like an idiot on the sideline. This is just sad. And it's the same for this. The more people pile on, there's so many content creators now just shitting on every bad comp or every, card that's gone down 90% or whatever, and fractional companies that are just getting destroyed left and right. Now I'm just like, man, this seems like a good time to, like, get back on the train of, like, the hobby is undervalued or whatever, and this is a good time to, like, if you want to add big cards to your collection, I think it's a good time because now it's just shitting on it left and right.
Yep. I just want to take a moment and say that on the crossover, we do not give investment advice, and the opinions expressed are solely those of the individual and should not be taken as advice to be acted upon. Thank you.
I just want to commend Christina. In fact, this whole episode, she's had things to say, but she's just she has just been so allowed you and I to talk about.
She's happy probably that kabooms are gonna take a dip now.
You know what else I was thinking about too is, like, when we're in the hobby, how do we protect ourselves from people who might set off red flags in us from the day we meet them? Because in the context of polite society, if you meet somebody who's weird or a little bit off or a little bit awkward in your point of view, you're not supposed to, like, alienate that person. You're supposed to understand that person or embrace them or at the very least be courteous to them. But then I think about, well, like, I'm a little bit weird. Maybe I'm a lot weird. Lots of people are weird. But what does it mean to be weird? And if a person is weird in the sense that they're flaunting the norms of everyday society, if a person is weird in the sense that they feel like they're above the rest of us in some way, or that they don't have to follow the same things that we follow. In most situations, that is fine. There's no real way for that to go negatively. You can still be civil and play with that person. But in the hobby, it's different. In the hobby, if you have somebody who's flaunting the norms and the ethics of the hobby community, they can very quickly go from that to utilizing the tools of the hobby, like the marketplaces, the eBays, social media, doing deals. You can quickly take the leap to flaunting norms and doing things that are just straight up unethical. And so it's just tough. It's like, it's something I'm really struggling with, is like, how do you in the hobby sort of associate with good people? How do you make sure that you're doing that? How do you read red flags properly so that you don't end up associated with, somebody who's not going to make you look good, or somebody who's not going to do any favors to your image or to your reputation by association. It's a tough one. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I said what I had to say on this topic.
All right. I did like 615 Collector's comment there, because he's observing the I'm gonna zag on the zag though, and say that we do too much zagging as a hobby.
Well, now I don't think we zag enough. Thanks.
Okay, and then that's the zag of the second zag. Sometimes I think this is a very smart question, and I really liked it, and I thought it was a very provocative comment, but I don't think there's anything more to see here. I think that the hobby has been in a bearish state. I think that we're in a period of great uncertainty with respect to the transitioning of manufacturing and licenses sort of being prematurely called in, and we're also in a period of macroeconomic uncertainty. There are strategic strikes happening with United Auto Workers. The stock market has had a really bad month. Interest rates keep going up. You can put your money into a certificate of deposit ladder or a treasury and get 5, 6, 6.5, 7%. This is a very weird time. I think that it's popular to sort of be pessimistic on the hobby because it makes sense to be pessimistic right now.
You're talking dirty to me, man. I can't lose. Either the cards get cheap and I get more of them, or they go up and, I'm rich. I can't lose. This is great.
Fair. Very fair. All right.
Doesn't matter which way you go. I'll just find a way.
All right. Okay. The Bones Collector says, does seeing comps hurt market growth since many buyers refuse to pay at or over comps?
We get this question a decent amount, right? I don't know. What do people say to you guys, to you and Christina, as the flag bearers of making sure these comps are public and accurate? And do people message you hey, this comp is killing my deals, what can we do about this? You know what I mean?
You do. Christina handles a lot on most of the customer inquiries.
I get a lot of I get a lot of
Here, come in.
I get a lot of this wasn't real, or I think you should look at this again, and there's only so much I can say to that. I got one this week where it was this sale from this person was kind about it because I know this person, but they were you should look at this as an outlier. And then I looked into it and I was no, it's not an outlier. And they were I can see it on an auction house's website. It's still there. This auction house removes them if they're not paid. This is from 2 years ago. This is a legit sale. And then it's oh, okay. I just forgot the market was going crazy then, because it was a really out there sale. But but we do our jobs, guys.
But this is a different situation. We're talking about a situation where a comp comes in, and rather than a comp comes in and nobody wants to pay at the comp. People want to pay lower than the comp. And so, the question here is Christina, what do you think about this? When you're bargaining on a card, and you're looking at comps, do you ever say I'll go over the comp? Or
as a buyer, yes.
Okay. I think there's still plenty of people who do. What about you, Josh? What do you say about that?
Yeah, I think Drake had a question about this, so we can answer them together, save ourselves the discussion over Drake trying to figure out how to buy a card from somebody. Yeah, I'm always to pay. I always think about it traditionally. Like I see the comp and it's helpful for me and it's a data point. And as a buyer, I'm willing to pay a little bit more. And as a seller, I'm usually willing to sell for a little bit less. Like that's just kind of me being a reasonable human being.
Yeah. And so, all right, good perspective from Christina and you as well. Here's my zag on this question.
Oh, great.
The zag is this. The question is asking about market growth. Does it hurt the growth of the market that people aren't willing to spend at or above comps, that they always want a deal? All right, so and that makes sense, right? Because how can the market grow when people only want to pay less than what the last person paid? That's going to be the opposite of growth. That's going to see prices go down. But I think in the longer run, it does help market growth that buyers are discerning and that people want a deal, that they want to get a deal, and that they're negotiating hard to get the absolute maximum value out of the money that they're spending in the hobby. I think that serves as sort of a governor on the ability of the hobby to suddenly, see prices increase 2, 3, 4-fold in a short period, like what we saw a few years ago. And I think that is healthier and more sustainable, lets more people come into the hobby at affordable price points, and ultimately lets the hobby grow more organically long term. That's my zag.
Yeah, the whole concept of paying 70 to 80% or like wanting to pay under the last comp is a very like short term look at like, there's a comp from a week ago or a month ago, and I'm willing to pay similar to that comp because that's where the market's at. That's the demand right now. I didn't win that one, but I'm willing to pay for it right now. That doesn't mean that, I'm not willing to pay some different percentage or multiple if the comp is, really old, right? Like we can see where the market's fluctuated since. So there's still always going to be room for this like movement, especially in the rare cards that don't sell very often. There's always going to be a place for that. Then there's also a place for we need to follow the trends of the current market and pay what's, been born out of these auctions.
Yeah, man. And think about the sort of invisible hand of the market here and how it should be operating. If we are truly in an environment where people are unwilling to pay comps and they only want lower, then stop selling. That one thing that in an economic theory would suggest is then more sellers should stop selling their cards in the short term. And then that dries up the supply. And then when the supply dries up, that results theoretically in people once again returning to being willing to pay at or above comps because there's fewer available and more competition for fewer available. Right? So like if we sort of think through the steps of how this could work, there are ways to adjust for that. Like if I'm a seller feeling frustrated that I'm not getting what I believe my cards are worth, then it's probably time for me to pull them off the market. Or on the other, conversely, if I feel like I'm not getting what my cards are worth, but I'm also not confident that they're ever going to be worth what I think they're worth, then are they really worth what I think they're worth?
One of my favorite parts of this is like a dealer or someone will complain to me like, oh, everyone's lowballing me. And I'm like, then you need to get better cards, okay? Or you lower your prices. You don't want to be offended that you're getting lowballed. Get better cards or lower your prices. This is just like, I'm of the belief that like the greater market will always sort of work itself out. And there's just so many variables and all of these things are always priced in because there's just so much activity that's way, way bigger than you and your individual case will ever be, that you just like the market will just figure it out. Like you said, pull it off the market. This clearly there's a sign here that your price is too high and it's not going to sell. So take it down or wait for the market to recover or sell now and move that money into something else. Like you have to make these decisions. You can't just like whine about the current situation.
Absolutely. All right. Now let's pivot to Drake's question real quick. He says, while we often laugh at flippers wanting to buy cards at 70 to 80% of comps, I'm noticing a concerning trend lately of true collectors also wanting deals on cards, even cards that are rare and scarce. As someone who almost always pays full value or even over market for the rare and scarce cards that I want, I'm struggling to understand collectors suddenly feeling like they need room or a deal on cards that I've looked to move privately lately. This is great. Drake has come full circle, baby.
Now he's the reverse. He's the other guy now. He's the other guy.
Okay. Drake is the other guy. Okay. And
maybe future Drake was talking about past Drake in like where past Drake was talking about future Drake months ago.
Okay.
Have you seen Fight Club?
We're in a time loop of the hobby or something.
Have you seen Fight Club?
No.
Yes, I have. Long time ago.
I think Drake is one of the main characters. I don't want to spoil it, but I think Drake is two people now.
Okay, well, to finish off his question, and by the way, Drake, I love your questions, man. They're always thought through. They're always There's never any doubt either. There's never any haziness. We know what you're getting at.
No, Drake, we adore you, Drake. I tease you out of friendship.
Of course.
You know when I don't like people on this show.
That's true. All right. So he ends with this. If other collectors only want to pay under market, then those same collectors cannot also complain about the declining values of their collections. If collectors aren't willing to pay market value, does that concern you? That's the ultimate question. You know, if we have collectors who don't want to pay market value, are you worried? No.
I think it's what you said earlier, that we're just like very realistically and reasonably in a bear market, and that's just the reality. And it's proving that here with these examples where collectors themselves, now that sort of the last line of defense, those people are still not willing to pay full comps because they're worried about uncertainty, or they're thinking about their ability to get that card in the future for less money, depending on the scarcity and rarity. So even collectors, like, we have a line as well, like, where we're just not going to pay, whatever the last comp is just because that's what we're supposed to do. Like, we will still be frugal in some instances and think, hey, I'll just wait, or I'll save money, or I'll wait for the next auction. You know, it's not something I have to jump at this very specific moment. It just feels like this is an overall bear market feel playing out.
Well, I think that, like, this reads into the collector flippers. Like, I think a lot of collectors are worried that the last comps were set by flippers and investor bros and people who aren't trying to hold on to the card, and they were the underbidder on a lot of those cards. So now they're like, well, if it's moving again, like, that wasn't actually the comp.
Oh, like, that's right. That's so right.
Like, I was the underbidder, and this is what I'm willing to pay for that card. Yep. So I think that comes into it a lot, too. Like, collectors have finally, like, gotten fed up with, like, these other people who are just trying to flip their grails.
Yep.
And they're like, screw you. Like, this is the price of that card. I know it. The other people who collect that card know it. And you're just trying to make $1 on top of what you're flipping.
This is so right. This is the take. I've been thinking about this as well from the point of view of, like, I question the value of cards that have recently come to market or that have recently transacted, because Josh, I was talking to you about this like a week or two ago. Like, how many layers, if the value of a card could be thought of as like a layer cake or something, how many layers of that layer cake are based on what collectors seeking to own the card would pay for it, and how many of the layers of the value of this cake or this card, how many layers are just flippers bidding against each other, speculating that there's somebody else, maybe a collector, maybe another flipper, maybe another dealer who's just willing to pay more. All right. And then if I'm having these critical thoughts, I'm one of the last people to come to a realization like this. So if I'm realizing it, surely others have had these realizations. And when you see the same Luca logo, man, sell 4 times, in the last year and a half, and each time it goes for less, as a collector, you surely start thinking to yourself, what is the real value of this card? When what are the people who actually want to own this card for its enjoyment? Not saying that they have to want to own it forever, but the people who want to own this card because they genuinely want to add it to their collection, what's the amount that they are willing to pay?
Because you're saying, like, let's say the second person who won that card was clearly someone looking to flip it. So they were thinking, hey, it's going down in price. I think this is a good buy, and someone is going to pay more next time because it's gone too far down. Like it shouldn't have gone down. I'm going to be the one to buy it at this price, thinking the next person that comes in will go back up, and they didn't. So they give up and they sell it, and the next person goes lower, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
The other one is you kind of mentioned it, but like this whole like flipper premium of like, hey, this is my job as a dealer is to make money on these deals, so I buy a card for X. I need to sell it for a little bit more to the next dealer or flipper who then needs to sell it for a little bit more. And by the time whichever dealer actually finds the collector that wants it, that collector now is expected to pay not just 10% over, but like 50% over because it's been moved through all these layers, like you said, to this person who now owns it, where it's like, I'm supposed to buy it from you for 150% of the last online comp because you got it for 10% more from the 10% more from the 10% more. Like, how does this make sense for me? Like, I can't just pay full comp on your comp because you're the one that prospected on it to try to flip it to me, the collector, because you assumed I would buy it.
Absolutely. All right. Let me get to this next question here from the Spirit of Cardboard, who provides a multiple choice question. Which of these snobby hobby collector groups, snobby hobby, gets the title for the most abundant and potent snobbery? A, where we all take a few lumps on this, all right? A,
I like this.
The gold refractor out of 10 snobs. B,
Wait, gold refractor or gold prism?
That should say gold prism.
Yeah, he meant prism.
He definitely meant prism. The gold prism out of 10 snobs will amend that.
Or just
B,
gold shiny. Like I'm the snob because I need my golds to be at a 10 and not 50.
right. B, the my slabs must be PSA only snobs. C, C, the PSA 10 or BGS 9.5 only grade snobs. D, the centered vintage with high eye appeal hobby snob. E, the anything modern and shiny sucks vintage hobby snobs. F, the chunky multicolor game worn patch only snobs.
Ugh.
G, the on card auto only snobs. Or H, the flippers are ruining the hobby snobs.
I just went on a rant about flippers ruining the hobby.
I know, something told me I should go to this question next. Okay, so then he finishes his thought. I fall into category D, he says, but I typically keep my snobbery to myself as I don't do much on social media but consume. Well, here's category A, sir. The snob who thinks his snobbery is less snobbish than the other snobs. Okay, all right. That's just a joke. I love this question. Any reactions to this question? It can sort of stand alone.
The easiest win in the hobby and social media really is to make fun of yourself or belittle yourself, humble yourself. So I'm going to take that easy slam dunk for myself, make myself look better. The snobbiest is the PSA only snobs. They're the worst. Other slabs are just as good in some cases. Why would you limit yourself to PSA 4s when you could just as easily have a BGS 8? What a snob.
Yes. Yep. I'll take a lump on the flippers are ruining the hobby snob because you know what?
You're about to zag?
Yeah. I'm about to zag in favor of the flippers. Here's the thing, all right? Do we really want to know what this hobby would look like if it was only collectors? Do we really want that? What would things be worth if flippers weren't willing to speculate on stuff?
Oh, here's a take on that.
I'm sorry, I wasn't in the middle of a take.
I thought you were done. You take pauses.
Okay, go ahead. I am done.
You fucker. Here's a take on that. If there's no one flipping the cards, do they all just die as soon as they get into the first person's hands? Like, do they all just enter a black hole and no one ever sees them again? Does the flipper actually play a part in the ecosystem, the food chain of the hobby, that actually helps you like move cards.
Right. Yes. Yeah, they do.
Because the flipper convinces collector 1 to sell it
And
for a price, and then brings it to collector 2 and says, don't you want to add this to your collection?
One thing about this, I was just criticizing the layer cake of a card's value and how much of it is flipper's value. Well, what if flippers like actually are responsible for a big portion of the value of cards? What if they are, and that the speculation aspect of the hobby is key to its value, and it's a very fun part of the game, and that as long as flippers continue to speculate consistently, or if even more flippers come in, then it's a sustainable model, and then that there is something natural or sustainable about the value that flippers layer in to an item. It's as long as there's flippers continuously interested. The problem that we're having is that the flippers are not continuously interested. They've rapidly lost interest and or money. So
you want to take on this? Here's a take.
Yeah.
The more confusion, gray area, flippers, shilling, vaults, the more this stuff comes up, the harder it is to wade through all this and figure out as a collector how to get and figure it. The more brutal the space becomes, the more excited I get, because it just becomes more challenges and more roadblocks and more ways to separate myself from everyone else. Because I feel like the harder I work at it, the more I push my head down and move through it, the better my collection is going to end up being relative to everybody else. Just bring it on. More challenges. I love it.
Right on. Okay. Josh, you're hashtag grinding tonight, man.
Dude, the more people complain and don't want to grind, the more I want to grind. The more people want to grind, the more I want to just sit back and do nothing.
Let's go. All right. This was very topical and interesting, and it could be summed up quickly. Ryan Bitter says, let's discuss the duplicate one-of-one superfractors in circulation. And Long Island Sports Card says, how do you rate Topps' response to the Superfractor debacle? So I'll summarize this from memory quickly. In 2023 Bowman Baseball, let me make sure I got that right, actually. In 2023 Bowman Chrome Baseball, there were 95 non-autographed Superfractors that were included in the product. Duplicates. There are 95 duplicate non-autographed Superfractor one-of-ones, all right? So what has Topps done to rectify this? Do you know, Josh?
I read up on this. I know stuff now.
Damn,
I know things.
All right. I was going to ask you, like, what would you do if you didn't know? But as you know, as Christina knows.
I put out a bullshit apology. I mean, oh, shoot. Did I just...
Well, they apologized, but they also installed a remedy.
Right.
And the remedy, there's a buyback for only one of the two Superfractors. They will buy back one of them, thereby presumably destroying the bought back one and restoring the status of the other one to being a true one-of-one. But only the first person who owns one of the two of these 95 supers can redeem it. And then they have very generous buyback terms. From my understanding, I'm not familiar with the market for this stuff, but I saw values being offered for some of these prospects. I saw $75,000. I saw like some really strong buyback offers.
People are excited then now. They're like, yes, I hope I find this in a break so I can get rich and sell it to somebody that's overpaying.
Yeah. So, and then that sort of raises its own questions, which like maybe we don't need to touch on right now.
Are you going to put a tinfoil hat on right now?
No, but as we let this, if we let this resonate,
do you want me to?
Or maybe we need to let this marinate a little bit. But there's a concern about a manufacturer sort of setting the market price for cards by buying them back. But I know they're not intending to do that, all right? What they're trying to do is sort of interpret what the market is and give a generous buyback, and this is only a one-time thing. Okay, now go ahead, Christina. If you really want to.
I got a Christina's conspiracy corner for
all
this
right,
one.
Here we go.
Topps did this purposefully on accident to make people buy Bowman Chrome to get the buyback reward. So now, because it's only the first one that is offered to Topps, will they buy back? So now there's this huge rush for everyone to buy the product and rip it, not hold it, rip it open so that they can hopefully hit the extra one of ones and then sell it for a crazy price back to Topps. And perhaps it's a genius marketing plan.
All right.
That's all I'm saying.
And shout out to the great Kahana who agrees with you.
Thank you, David.
That's when you know you're on the right path.
That's how I know I'm on the right path, is Kahana comes out and tells me that I was right.
All right. So, I don't know. I think all things considered, not such a bad break at the end of the day for somebody who ends up with one of these 95 dupes.
I'm very happy with myself and our team that we don't have to issue a public apology on behalf of Card Ladder once a month. Man, what would I do as a business owner if once a month I had to issue a public apology? I would just walk away. This is getting out of control.
Right. Okay. All right, Josh, this question is going to be right up your alley. From 1956 Topps guy.
Oh, goodness.
What about the hobby are you most excited about right now?
Oh, you're right. This is my favorite question. I wanted you to ask this after all the BS of the Shilling stuff, because I was like,
up there. I had it set up, and I jumped around to that Drake question. I threw off my order
because I would have fucking slam dunked this thing so hard after it. It kind of goes to the more challenges put in front of me, the more I'm just like, and the answer to this question is the real answer. The thing I'm most excited about can you read it one more time? Let me make sure I get it right.
About the hobby are you most excited about right now?
Yes. My own collection. What I'm adding to my collection, my cards, my PC. That's always what I'm most excited about. It's always what I'm focused on. Everything else is noise. Everything else is roadblocks, distractions. My ultimate goal always is to build up my own collection, to be the best that it can be, relative to my peers, relative to people in the community, relative to my past self. I'm always trying to one-up, raise the bar, raise the level. That's always what I'm excited about. And I have a mail day in the pipe of vaults and shipping world, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about selling a couple cards to buy something new. I'm always thinking, I'm always plotting. That's always number one.
Yeah. That is terrifically insightful. And I'm going to relate it back to Iowa Dave's most recent podcast, where he discusses his adventure into spending a 7 or 8 day period consuming something like 60 hours of podcasts, of hobby podcasts. I don't remember the exact numbers, but this guy, he said he basically listened to every hobby podcast for a week. Not YouTube stuff. He's not really big into YouTube, but podcasts.
Yeah, the audio. And
sometimes he would listen in faster speeds or whatever. And he said that he was inspired to do this by a comment that Dennis Zender had made on a different podcast, where he said, what would your hobby experience be like if you stopped consuming content and going on social media for a month? How would that change your hobby experience? All right. That was the initial question, which, and then Iowa Dave was like, Iowa Dave, of course, as we all do in the hobby, zagged. And he said, all right, how can I zag against this? I'm going to listen to everything. Okay. And then I'm going to follow that up with a period of silence, of not listening to things, and of just strictly, looking at cards and enjoying cards. I think that was a takeaway as well, is that when you boil it down, or at least I'm connecting the takeaway, his sort of takeaway to yours, which is boiling it down to just the fundamental reason that we're here is that you did the supersize me for hobby content. You boil it down to the essence why we're here.
The doctor's like, don't do it. It's a bad idea.
which is just to which that's fun. That's really good. Which is just like to focus on building your collection, because sometimes I can find myself like I need to prune and curate my collection. I've come to that realization recently. I've come to realize that cards I really loved 2, 3, 4 years ago, my tastes, what I like has evolved, and that has to be, for me, the core of my hobby experience, is focusing on my collection first, to make sure that my collection is pleasing to me. If I never posted it, I never posted a single card, I never talked to anybody, which are important parts of the hobby, but going back to the fundamental of it, am I happy with me and Christina's collection? Is Christina happy with it? Do we like where it is? And if not, how can we shape it or mold it to get it to there? That's the essence of this thing. That's the most fun thing. Nothing else makes sense without it. So I like that take, and I like Iowa Dave's take too.
Yeah, if you're not doing that, then like, I don't understand what you're doing. You're just sort of wading through different random social media communities, seeing what sticks and like who you can trick and annoy and manipulate. That's like, other than that, that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. And that might even be a novel thing for some people to like, tear it all down and just go back to, do I like my collection?
What if I spent a week in a like cooking or recipe community or food community and just started throwing out takes and saying random shit and trying to get sponsorship deals and making this, and they're like, do you even know how to cook? Someone finally was like, I was like, I don't even eat food. I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm just here for the clicks and the content. That's my job. It would just be so confusing, right?
Yeah, shout out to the recipe community. I don't know how they dole out justice when somebody's putting too much asparagus in their broth. That's good, man. I wrote that down as an episode title. That's good.
It's the guy that's just like not even cooking. At least that guy's trying the asparagus. Look at this guy. He's trying. He's doing something.
I love that. I love when we put the hobby stuff into a different context, because it just points out how weird it is when you have people who are in the hobby who don't care about cards. It's like somebody in the recipe community, and they don't care about asparagus.
They don't even eat food.
They don't eat food.
Like, do you even olive oil? Like, I don't even know how you function in this space without putting a base of olive oil. Like, what are you even doing?
I know. It
is silly though. Like if someone, put yourself in the shoes of someone that knows nothing about sports cards and they hear all the drama that we're talking about, they're like, aren't you guys supposed to just be buying cards? We're making fun of it, but they probably have this too, where we're like, shouldn't you just be making the food? I don't understand. And then eating it? What more is there to talk about?
Right, like the drama and the politics of the like the cookbook community.
They probably have drama. We don't know about it. They probably have it.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they have. I'm sure they have a lot of drama in that community. All right. Let's see here. What question? Bleecker Street Card says, if you had to lose one of the following two things from the hobby, which would it be? Refractors or patches?
Dentists. Wait, it's a multiple choice. I have to pick one.
Yep, that answer's on the board.
Definitely patches, man. Refractors, man. If cards weren't shiny, I don't even know what I would do.
Yep. That we are shiny snobs.
We are shiny snobs.
They're always making fun of Chris Collinsworth because he can't say Pash Rush.
Dude, that's my favorite. I laugh so hard at that every time because now I'm listening for it and he fucking does do that, man. It's so bad. I can't, when like you just can't unhear things and he just, every time he says it, Pash Rush.
I know. They actually ruined the Collinsworth experience for me.
You're like waiting for him to say it. You're like, oh God, oh, he didn't say it. Oh wait, he's gonna say it. Oh.
Ryan Bitter says in the chat, they shill their own recipes.
Can you even get through a sentence about Michael Parsons without saying, wow, what a Pash Rush? No.
No. Okay. We are Schneiny Schnapps. All right.
What was the one you said earlier? Universally or something?
Yes. I don't even know what I said. It was. Oh, I was trying to say universalizability.
Whew, that's a tough one.
That it definitely didn't come out right.
No.
Okay. 626 Sports Card says, are serial numbers better on the front or the back?
You go first.
Okay, so I'm going to steal an answer that somebody put into my DMs when they replied. They said 1 of 1 on the front, everything else on the back. And I like
What's that? Okay, what's that? Why?
Because I like when one of one is on the front, but otherwise I feel like the number might be taken away from the design a little bit.
You should have added I or J or whatever to that list and say 1 of 1 snob. That's you.
I am the snob of all 1 of 1 snobs.
As long as the serial number is handwritten, it doesn't matter where it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, if the serial number is handwritten, then it doesn't matter. Then the only thing that needs to go anywhere is that card needs to go in the trash. That's the only going.
Would you rather have it be like unnumbered? It just says like there's a blank white space /50. You'd rather have that?
No, I would rather just have a beautiful stamp. A nice, beautiful stamp that's like embossed a little bit. Like if I run my fingers over it, I can feel it.
Yeah, I do like that part. Here's a question that came up on Facebook, and I won't tell you what I said. I want to hear your take first, and I'll tell you what I said.
All right.
They posted a picture of a missing serial number card. So the card is normally serial numbered. This copy was missing the serial number entirely, and they were asking what's the value. The question is, how do you categorize a missing serial number card? Like, what's the term you use?
Is the serial number missing because it was removed by somebody, or is it missing because it's somehow left because it was like a replacement copy or a production duplicate, and it somehow left the facility?
Yeah, no, nothing nefarious.
Oh, well, sometimes I'll refer to those as backdoor copies.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yep, backdoor copies. Yeah, or production duplicates or something. I don't know.
I called it a fake, and people got really mad. I just was like, I get so angry about the missing serial numbers that I'm just like, what's the meanest thing I can call this card to really diminish what it is, to make sure nobody bids on this because I think it's stupid. Like, we as a market need to send a message to these missing serial number cards. Fake.
Yeah, they are definitely a problem. Or like what Sheik says, when an uncut card that got cut and graded from an uncut sheet, God, when I see those uncut sheets, it just raises my blood pressure.
I mean, if you would have just said the word trash, I would have been that. Like in the comments here, that's an acceptable answer.
Yeah, I like what Istanbul Card said. He goes, he likes his cards like a mullet, business in the front and the party in the back. I think he's advocating for the stamp in the back.
Yeah, because the back is where we clearly value it less aesthetically. You can make more mistakes, so just put it in the back. It'll be fine back there.
Yep. But how about incorporating the serial stamp into the card's aesthetic on the front? If it can be done, then I think it's better on the front. I think. I think the rarity of the card matters that much. I think if you have a very rare card, that it deserves top billing. It deserves to be presented on the front, but not at the expense of the aesthetic. Not so. But I think a lot of times the 1 of 1, especially like I love when like the 1 of 1 is done like with the italics and stuff when it looks really nice. It can enhance the card. So
I think all of my exquisite cards have the serial number on the front. Now that I'm thinking about it, and I never really thought it through, but like I'd be curious to see or hear from Carvin like why he did it that way, or if there was any like what sort of thought went into that.
Yeah, I think it works on Exquisite. I think the design of Exquisite permits that.
Because the back they need all that room for the 4 paragraphs of explanation of how they got the card.
I think 626 sports card says molten metal titanium has it on the front and the back.
Oh.
Nice, that is true. That is true. The hole punch stamp never really caught on.
I just wanted to say one more time, missing serial number cards are the worst.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Those cards suck. Those cards are doing nothing good.
They're just like confusing, and people are like, "Oh, I bid on it." It's like deceiving. Maybe you just like assume it as a serial. Why would you not? You know? Now I have to like look it over more closely, and ugh.
Yeah, and it plagues '90s cards.
Yes.
It's unpleasant. It is that damn bankruptcy, among other things. Assuming that the card is authentic to the manufacturer, but was never released, but sort of just made its way out, or
So the card in question was a 2003 Bowman Chrome Gold LeBron. 2003. What doesn't make any sense? I didn't even know that it was real. Like I saw it.
Oof. And it doesn't have the stamp on it? God.
Yeah, and on the Beckett slab it says missing serial number. So, good on Beckett. Here's another take I forgot to say. These auction companies, if they see you're bidding on your own fucking auction, they should be booting you, removing the bid, and booting you. We need to put some responsibility on these auction companies too, man.
Yeah, agreed. They are the ones in the strongest position to enforce the hobby ethics.
They're the only ones that know who the seller is, because it's hidden behind their own eBay listing.
Yeah. I mean, there are some auction houses that have gone so far as to prevent employees from even bidding on their auctions.
Yeah.
That's how much of a concern it is to have even somebody who's close to the situation, not even their card, but you can be, even if you're close to the situation, in that sense, they don't want you bidding on it.
Yeah, because they could be worried. They could be worried it'll come back to bite them, where it's like you were the rep for the seller, and you're trying to help them boost to get your reputation up with that seller, and to have that seller tell his friends, this guy gets good prices. Like, you know what I mean? There's just it's a good policy.
It is. Definitely is. All right. Fan Tomas 4 card says, do you agree that a real collector must have at least one card in his or her PC that they will never sell? And what would be the card that you'll never sell?
This one's tough, dude. I feel like I've had that statement come out of my mouth, and then 5 years later thought about selling it or upgrading it,
Yeah, 5 years is a long time.
It's like, what if in the first 2 years of your collecting career, you're enjoying it, you're having fun with it, but you're not quite over that level of being serious yet? Right. And then when you do cross that threshold of being serious, was there a card in that initial 2 years that you have to keep forever to be a real collector? I don't think so. I think you can cycle through those and make your new sort of style of collecting or whatever.
Yeah. Well, if we grant the premise that a real collector must have at least one card in their PC for life, but that card can change. How about this? That card can change. Over time. But here's a question. If somebody buys cards for the love of them, does occasionally sell them, but most of the time when they sell a card, it's just to upgrade to a better card or to move around their PC to curate it differently. If that person after 20 years decides that they no longer value having these cards anymore and they want to sell them, were they ever a true collector? Were they a true collector for those 20 years and they had a change of heart? And so you say they were a true collector for 20 years and then they retired from the hobby, so to speak? Or do we say they were never a true collector? And that because a true collector you can only know if someone is a true collector on the day they die.
That seems pretty extreme, man.
Yeah, it does. It seems very extreme.
That seems like just like we live for a pretty long time, like 100 years or whatever, 90 years, whatever 80, whatever the average is. It's like so many things can change. Even for myself, when I'm 80, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm inclined to say, or like, let's take it on an individual card basis. Like I had a McCaffrey Prism Gold. I have 3. I now have 2. I had 3. And I sold one of them recently that I had owned for like 2 or 3 years.
Shame.
Okay. Okay. It's like, was I a collector of that card for 2 to 3 years? Or was I not? Or was I just a damn flipper?
Shame. I'm ringing have you seen that Game of Thrones where she's like, shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
Look, Istanbul card says, were people who get divorced ever a true spouse? That's good. That's good.
Dude, and when I'm 80, I'm going to be really into the cooking community, as you all have probably noted. Like, I'm slowly weaseling my way out of cards into the recipe game, so watch out.
Yeah. The cooking community, man. Do you think they'd be upset if they knew we were talking about them this much? Maybe start a little inter-community drama, like our community beefs. Maybe that's what we need, is a common enemy to unify us.
Dude, they'd probably be like, fuck you guys, we have no drama. How hard is this? Just make your goddamn food.
I think we should start a feud with another community.
I say we go after NFTs. They're an easy target.
I mean, was there ever a community there? I guess so.
Did you see?
You had a few.
Did you hear? Simmons took a jab at NFTs on his latest pod. It was hilarious.
Nice. Yeah, he likes to take his victory lap on that and on the Metaverse. Oh, speaking of the Metaverse, so a new interview was released.
Oh, puke.
Mark Zuckerberg in the Metaverse, and he looks amazingly lifelike. And I just got to thinking to myself, man, this is almost as good as real life. What if the Metaverse ever reaches the point of, making people appreciate that it's all about, like, the Metaverse is aspiring to be as realistic as real life, as if we didn't have real life right here to just do anytime we want it.
Maybe Zuck is just like next level multi-braining us and just trying to get us to appreciate our lives more. Maybe that's what this is.
I think so.
I don't. No, he's trying to profit, that little fucker.
I mean, he tried to flip the Metaverse. He's still trying to flip the
Metaverse. He's trying to dump it on Google or something. He's trying to sell it.
I mean, he's down big on the Metaverse.
Dude, he's down so much. 10 billion, easy. He's down big.
Yeah, look, in the battle between real life versus the Metaverse, I'm not zagging. I'm just taking real life. I think that's one of the easiest winning sides to be on.
Did you ever think you have to argue in favor of life?
No, I didn't, but I'm here to take the easy victories.
I never thought I'd be arguing against the lack of demand for buying someone's used plane ticket as an NFT. But here we are arguing against it, so you never know what the day is going to bring.
Yeah. All right, so a good friend has pointed out, because he sent me the Metaverse video. I did not watch it. I should watch it. I did not watch it. I'm just making fun of it with no background or context whatsoever.
Well, do you have to watch it though? Can't you just Metaverse it or something?
Well, okay, I should be able to Metaverse it, but he's pointing out that it's about language models, artificial intelligence, and it just occurred to me that, look, we have the United Auto Workers they're saying, look at the CEOs of GM and Ford, their salaries have increased 40%. These guys are making $30-40 million a year. And then our real salaries have not increased at all. And our purchasing power is actually down relative to inflation, the cost of everything. And they're asking for they want their work week to go from 40 hours to 32. They want their wages to go up 40% across the board to match. They say if the CEO can go up by 40%, then they should be able to go up by 40%. They're making some really strong demands, and they're finally the other shoe is dropping. Finally, we've reached a point where working people are saying, I can't afford my house anymore. I can't afford fast food anymore. You boosted your CEO's wage 40%, boost us 40%. And then here's where the AI thing and the NFT stuff and that Metaverse, it all comes together for me. So you've got these corporate profits that are being allocated to at massive scales, tens, hundreds of billions of dollars being allocated to artificial intelligence, to NFT programs, to the Metaverse. That is the symbol of the excesses of this era of the United States economy. The fact that you have auto workers these people, like, the work that they do, man, in some cases is brutal. And they can't afford a house anymore. And the CEO is making all this extra money. And these corporate profits, rather than being allocated to people who are working, these corporate profits are funding fucking artificial intelligence, which really just means a language model, which really is just this thing that helps you come up with ideas for your podcast, or helps you do better helps you cheat on your homework. That's doing like a bit of a disservice to it. But like, man, if there's anything I could point to, is the excesses of this era. And it's exciting. Don't get me wrong, the technological advances, they're exciting, they're promising, but that's not the issue facing us right now. The issue facing us isn't how can I get a computer program to write poetry and convince me that it was written by a human. That's not the problem of our time. The problem that we're having right now is that funds and money has been so improperly allocated that finally something is starting to give. And instead we've put hundreds of billions of money into developing the Metaverse. That's in a nutshell. There.
So you're on the side of the strike. You're in support of the strike. You believe it's a good cause.
Let's not get carried away.
It almost forced you into an opinion. I tried.
Let's not get carried away. I am here to avoid taking a stance on all topics. I think, though, that I think we're going to regret how much, as a society, I think we're going to regret how much money got allocated to artificial intelligence and to NFTs and to the Metaverse when we have to finally figure out how to get the wages of working class people to catch up to inflation. I think we're going to say, shit, I think we mismanaged some money here. I think some of these corporate profits went to the wrong stuff.
I usually take this one and say we should be allocating, as a society, we should be allocating less towards, crypto prospecting and NFT apes, and we should be prospecting on like solving water shortages and power outages and like real. If we're gonna do this technological thing, why are we putting our resources towards technology nobody's asking for? At least like let's try to solve some things that'll like save humans and stuff. Like these things don't make any sense.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Solving problems that no one's asking for. All these things can be tied back to hobby, these hobby businesses.
100%. The hobby's a microcosm of America's society. It's just how it is.
That is a topic. That's a title I like.
So, are you a chef if you only make pizza? That's really what I need to know. Because this is my end. My end to the food community is pizza.
Christina, is someone a chef if they only make pizza?
There are pizza chefs, yeah.
Okay. She says there. That's not really an answer, though, because the pizza chef could make things other than the pizza. I'm talking about if only your only dish is the pizza pie.
So you're a pizza maker.
You're not a chef.
But Josh makes his own sauce, so I would say yes.
Nice. Okay. So that's what you need. You need
if he starts making his own cheese, then we can really
You need to, if in order to be a chef, if you make pizza, you also need to make at least one of your ingredients.
Yeah.
Heard, as my current favorite show would say, heard, chef, heard.
Dude, do you have 30 extra minutes tonight, or do we need to call it now?
I have nothing tomorrow morning. I'm ready.
All right, just because like I haven't gotten to so many questions. Let's just try and rapid fire some stuff here. All right, Yao Ming Collector 11 says, with the seemingly endless number of shield sales, huge market declines in cards that were considered safe, and outright fraud, how can we feel comfortable making large card purchases as investments at the present time?
Man, other than that, it's pretty good, right?
Yeah. Look on the bright side, Yao Ming Collector.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can comfortably make them as investments, being the keyword. As collections, collectible items, it's a safer bet because you shouldn't be as concerned with the current cost.
Yeah. This goes back sort of to our previous discussions throughout other parts of the show, which is that it's probably okay. It's probably rational to be pessimistic about the state of things right now, which doesn't mean that we'll always be pessimistic, but it makes sense to be that right now. I think this question was more of a statement or an airing of some grievances, and I think they are legitimate ones.
Frustrations.
Yeah, absolutely. Fourth Floor Card says, what is a better strategy to sell a PC player's big cards, such as their one-of-ones? Should you do it quickly or should you space it out?
Should you, or what do you do? I sell everything so fast immediately. It's probably better to space it out in general.
Yeah. Why is that, do you think?
If you increase the supply, I mean, I'm thinking if you're going to be doing that, it's probably a lot of similar-ish type stuff, similar players, similar sets. As collectors, we collect similar things, so you're going to increase the supply very quickly. And if you space it out, it'll be a little bit more. You'll do better because of the less supply. Yeah,
if I'm the buyer looking to buy some of these cards because I PC the same player, I only have so many funds at my disposal, and I'm not going to be able to. I'll probably be better positioned to buy that stuff if I have time in between to raise funds or to make trades or to sell cards as needed.
Bingo.
Doc Collects Cards asks, will there be more or less hobby podcasts and YouTube vlogs 2 years from now compared to today?
More or less?
Mm-hmm.
I generally think that most things grow and there becomes more of them over time. So I'd probably just lean on the side of there being more. We always seem to have higher inflation, always goes up, value of things always goes up. I don't know why that would be different for this.
Yep. I've found that there's a new community of content creators sort of springing up, and there has been some attrition from previous eras of content creators, but I think on the whole there was growth. The new guy, the number of new ones have overtaken the number that have left and created surplus. And I tend to agree. I think the inclination is to be there's going to be less, these guys are not sticking around and blah, blah, blah. And I get that. I really do get that inclination. And sort of we're wish casting it a little bit. But I think you're right. I think we're going to see an increase. I was looking at Brock Purdy on YouTube the other day, and I probably like found maybe 12-ish videos on him that had been released in the time frame that I was looking, and like 6 of them were card people that I had never heard of, like talking about Brock Purdy cards. They're
Wow.
like a good investment and stuff. I'd never heard of a single one of these people, and they were not big channels. It was a lot of just like smaller channels, just a guy with a cell phone talking about what he thinks about Brock Purdy cards. I was like, wow, something has passed me by in this hobby.
Then the monthly sales volume that we track, it seems to always trend up no matter what happens. Like, we're in a bear market, everyone hates everything, and sales volume is higher. So,
well, we're gonna have that September number pretty soon, and I'm really interested to see what that September number is, because last year September was a big drop off from August.
yeah, true.
So,
I think it usually trends down in the winter.
Yep.
Just FYI.
Yes, it sure does. WTF Frankie podcast says, does the hobby need instructional videos on sports cards, like the videos being made recently to show new football fans how football is played and what its rules are?
The Swifties? I can't believe we went 2 hours and we didn't talk about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. I'm pretty disappointed in that.
Well, you guys mentioned no one talked about the Dolphins scoring 70, and it was because everyone's been talking about Taylor Swift attending a football game.
Mm-hmm.
That's why no one cares.
Okay.
Did you hear Simmons' take on that, by the way?
Yeah, he had a guest who was like an expert on this intersection of topics.
He was basically saying that it's a marketing maneuver by her to snatch the last demographic that she does not already own, which is the NFL fan.
Yep, that is true. I don't know if that demographic and Taylor Swift fandom were ever truly destined to meet, or if I think it's just a fling, and I think the further each one learns about the other, the less that they will like each other over the long haul.
I don't know, man.
Just my guess there.
I might just have to start reading tabloids now. I'm getting sucked into this. It's just too good.
There's a theory that it's all a PR stunt because the Kelce movie is out, or the documentary about the Super Bowl.
No.
Oh yeah, he has one on Amazon, and she has one too.
Yeah,
she has one coming out about the Eras tour.
Yeah.
She also has a book coming out in November that no one knows the details of. I saw today that someone was saying that this might be a romance book, and it might be a similar story to a pop princess fake dating a football player. That's the conspiracy theory now, is that this is a PR stunt for her book that's going to follow a similar plot line.
I think about this. If I'm Travis Kelce, do you want he got 300, 400,000 new followers recently or something? Do you want all those new followers?
Gross.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, do you want these non-football fan followers?
Well, yeah, he does, because his jersey sales went up 400% in 1 week.
Which is true. Which is a good point. So
he got a huge chunk of change for having Taylor Swift attend a frickin' game for him.
Which is a good point. But what happens if this doesn't end happily ever after? What if he breaks her heart?
Gosh, all these media people talking about it, I'm like, man, am I the only one that's just rooting for these two to fall in love? Is that just me?
No, it's not. I hope that they both get happily ever after.
Well,
his brother is happily married with 3
family.
kids now.
Yeah.
And Travis needs to settle down. And
look, this is a great underdog story. Everybody wrote them off. Nobody thinks this could possibly be real. Dave Portnoy spent time analyzing the chemistry of a 5-second video and concluded that there was none.
Oh, come on.
There is
Yeah, I'm really
everybody
gonna say,
is
like,
hating from this relationship
I
from
don't-
all angles.
I don't think anyone should take dating advice from Dave Portnoy, like with his like experience and
Okay,
background.
all right. All right.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
not
just
trying to
like,
beat up on Dave Portnoy. I just wanted to bring in just
No, I'm just saying, like, everyone should just mind their own fucking business and let, like, these two people, like, do what they're gonna do. Like, if they want to date, let them date. Like, yeah, they're in the public space,
But we're not. We're not minding. We're interested in their business.
I'm not, though. Like,
We just talked
I'm
about it
not.
for
Like,
5
I mean,
minutes.
like, okay, like, she's there. Like, good. Like, I hope it works out. Like, moving on. Like,
what was the question again?
Okay. Well,
yeah.
do we
Frankie.
need? Do
Shout
we
out
need?
Frankie, who's an awesome person.
He is an awesome person. Do we need videos to teach people how the hobby works? And my answer is no, because nobody watches videos.
We don't need them, but I kind of think that it's like a decent genre. It's been rejected. I tried it myself. It was rejected, but I think it's neat to like try to learn something. Like there's all these weird rules we have. We're talking about all night. Like nobody knows the rules. It's all over the place. It'd be nice to have an authority like at least help you at the beginning.
Fair.
Don't buy missing serial number cards.
Fair. That's a fair point. All right, but maybe it could be conveyed in a maybe put it in a podcast form, or maybe, God forbid, somebody write something down once again.
Yeah. Well, I could just have a robot do it for me, right?
Right. Yeah, you can just go to ChatGPT, come up with an instructional manual that
Oh, it would be so bad.
teaches me how to collect cards.
It would be so bad if you just like had it write that. It would be like, oh, it would be the stupidest fucking bit of text ever written. I have no faith in ChatGPT. I just know what it writes is going to be bad, unless it's like some surface level stupid topic.
Fair. Okay. Garrett NBA says if you were to start a new PC, but it could not be categorized by the player, and it must include multiple players, what would you collect? And what would your goal be if you were limited to only 10 cards of any one player? So, like, you have to make a PC that has to have multiple players, but it can't be organized around a player.
Mm-hmm. So, like a set?
Well, or a set definitely would work. Here's what I came up with. I thought about this question all day, and then it finally, like, something hit me. And I wanted to I've like thought this was a cool idea, but it's not for me. But if I had to, I would try to get one really nice card, the best I could afford, of every NBA player going back to the beginning of the league. And I think the first season was like 46, 47 or something like that. I would go back, and this is partially influenced by a research project that I recently did. I would try to own one good card of every player who had a legitimate claim to being the best basketball player in the world for more than a year. So, like, you need to have been the best player. You can't just have had one great season. You need to have, like, a few consecutive seasons where you were the best player in the world. But I would make a best player in the world PC. And that might have, like, 15 players in it or 20 players maybe. I would. That's the PC I would make, Garrett.
I did an interview with a collector named, I think his name was Donald, who was building a collection like that, where he was having it, like, I think it was one card of everybody in his, like, personal top 50 basketball players. I can't remember the exact specifics of it, but it ended up being a really cool PC, because he had, like, PSA 10 rookies of just, like, really nice card, and then it obviously became more difficult, and I think he had a PSA 10 86 Fleer, PSA 10 Kobe Refractor rookie, PSA 10 SP, authentic LeBron. Like, he had some really cool cards out of it, and then it, you know, those are kind of the obvious ones, but as you got into more, I would say, like, you know, lesser known hobby players, it became a fun project.
Yeah, I remember that interview. That is a cool project indeed.
I'll go with the same thing. I can't really picture doing sets, because I just, you know, like, I don't really ever want to buy a Luke Longley card as much as I love Luke Longley. Like, I'll draw the line where you did of, like, I was thinking everybody who has had a first team All NBA award or something like that.
Sure. All right. Ooh, all right. This is a little spicy. From Slab Daddy. A little bit long question, so buckle in for a second. It is general consensus that pack-pulled autographs and rare parallels are among the most valued cards in our hobby, and that redemption autographs stink. With that being said, let's talk about the recent Fanatics event and the Wemby's First Auto saga. Several years ago, when Fanatics first started teasing the Wemby First Autograph card, the community largely cited this type of mass marketing as just the tip of the iceberg for ways they will bring new and exciting chases to the hobby and enhance the community, while bringing millions of eyeballs to the space. Well, it turns out that many of the early Wemby autographs thus far have been redemptions, and this card in particular was not inserted into packs and was actually raffled off among a group of hobby elite. Did they ever say that this card was not going to be inserted into packs? And if not, the wild chase that likely ensued in the breaking community for this particular card was a manufactured lie. Am I missing something, or is it the exact opposite of what was initially exciting the hobby? Because everything I've seen so far has been how amazing and positive this event was.
Man, that's so frustrating. Is that all true? That's very frustrating.
Yes, it does all seem true. It definitely is frustrating. I wanted to give a voice to this question. I think maybe the one part that's sort of being overlooked here is not to take away anything from what Slab Daddy said, because as far as I know, that is an accurate. The factual components of this are accurate, but there's an additional aspect of this, which is that people who did pull that Wemby redemption were then offered the opportunity with a paid flight to go to San Antonio for a chance to redeem the 1 of 1, to have an equal chance among all 99 or however many people pull this redemption. I don't know. I haven't been following that product very closely, or this whole thing very closely, but they all got to go to San Antonio and hang out with some big time hobby influencers, and and then eventually one person won the Wemby first signed card, and they got to meet Wemby. It was a cool event. It was definitely an experience that is neat. But the issue here is it wasn't presented as if this was going to be the case. It was sort of like it feels big for Slab Daddies if it was just sort of they were coming up with this on the spot.
Right.
Doing but that's going to happen, especially in the early goings. This is going to be par for the course. There's going to be a lot of trial and error, and so I just wanted to give Slab Daddy's point some airtime here to express. There's some people who are pretty frustrated with, because in a nutshell, there's the idea there's not going to be any redemptions, and then already there are redemptions for, the most sought after player in these new products, Wembanyama. But then it turns out that the redemption's actually more than just a redemption. You actually get to go to San Antonio and meet him. So,
yeah, we were all excited about the idea that Fanatics would come in and sort of clean sweep and solve these issues that we have been frustrated with for a long time, like the redemptions and sticker autos and not having lineage of the patches and not knowing, pack odds, things like that, where we could just have these things solved that are seemingly pretty easy to solve in a lot of cases, and instead it feels like we're sort of just being led into more influencer culture with this so far, and that's the frustrating part. Is nobody asked for influencers and meeting goobers at these events. We asked for actually solving redemptions and solving sticker autos, but we're not seeing as much movement on that. So that's frustrating, and I'm glad you gave it airtime. But I do like the creativity of some of these different ideas for these events. So it's hopefully we can get all of it, but so far it's I'm not sure.
All right, Drake's PC says, I really enjoyed the Stacking Slabs episode on essential credentials today with Jake of 90s B-Ball cards. Jake mentioned that finding 90s cards numbered to 100 is almost impossible today, and I agree with him. If a card is numbered to 100 today, though, we say that 100 copies is too many. Does time create scarcity of cards that are numbered to 100 or less? Or is there another reason, other than design and time, why 90s cards numbered to 100 are highly coveted and like finding needles in a haystack, but ultra-modern cards numbered to 100 are largely ignored? Also, great episode. I freaking love what Brett is doing with these parallels. And for guests, future guests, the more you can teach me about the parallel. What was the first year of the parallel? You know, all that, like Jake was breaking down the intricacies of the parallels. Why do people like these? You know, what's the genesis of these? Where they always looked at it. Like, the more people teach me about the parallel, like, that is, God, I just love that content. I think it's fantastic. So, all right, what do you say to this, Josh? Why are 90s cars number to 100 scarce and difficult to track down, but ultra modern cars number to 100 seem like they're abundant?
I don't think time is the main factor here, because I think 20 years from now we will look back and see at this time, like, of the 100 we have, documentation of 90 or 95, but for the 90s we only have 10 of the 100, and the reason is the value of the cards at the time of release is the main factor. So in the 90s, these cards were worth less, the boxes were cheaper, there was less incentive to preserve the cards for a long time in the future, and whereas today there's a huge incentive to acquire these cards, get them out of breaks, grade them, get them slabbed and protected, and maintain that condition going forward and maintain its lineage. I think that's the main factor.
Yeah, agreed. Splendid Sports Card says, regarding the recent $10,000 sale of a 1998 EX 2001 Michael Jordan base card, which is one of the most outstanding. It's very low. It's like the pop is in the single digits, I believe.
Okay.
Which is one of the most outstanding base card designs ever. What do you guys think are some of the other all-time great base card designs?
97 metal. Those are pretty condition sensitive.
Yep, you got to go with it. Some believe that 97 metal universe is more beautiful than the parallels.
Because it's got more color, more design to it, instead of just being a one sheet color kind of thing.
Yeah. The 1997 metal universe base card is like classical or traditionally beautiful. And then like the monochromatic green and red is like the postmodern answer to the beauty of the original. And for that reason, I don't think the base is better looking, but I know I'm in the minority there. I think there's a lot of people who like the base better. What about some other base cards? Because that was like a cheat, honestly. 97 and EX 2001 97 is also like a little bit of a cheat too, because those aren't traditional base cards. Those are like base cards that were specifically designed to be as beautiful as the inserts that were so popular in the 90s. You know, like, they are base cards, but like, they are not what the mind conjures when you think of a base card. A base card is from the basic set, and there's also a double meaning. It's also supposed to be basic. You know, it's supposed to be a base card. I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling to think because we're just sort of conditioned to think base cards are boring. But I mean, I like Topps Chrome base cards. Like, they have some interesting designs and like some shine, like a little bit of sheen to them, right? They're not just like paper boring cards. So like 03 Topps Chrome is a decent looking base set.
Yeah. God, I'm so unqualified to answer this question, and I don't ever think about it. So
yeah.
I will acknowledge, though, that there are a lot of people who believe that there are a lot of beautiful base sets out there, many from the vintage era, but also, Optic of today, like 2017, 2018, like Optic football and Don Russ football they have cool, like, photo shoot images and stuff for those. But, I'm not the proper one to answer this.
We could have got free brownie points with the vintage community and just rattled off like our fave non-86 Fleer space sets.
1956 Topps. I mean, Talk about beautiful base cards.
Man, when I get excited about base cards, I really go to that 1978 Topps. It just really stands out.
But we are not ones to take the low-hanging fruit. All right. Let's just do one more here. There's still like a few dozen that I haven't gotten to.
God damn it. One of these days, it's just like bothering me. We can't ever get through these now.
I know. And it also bothers me because I want people to feel like if they send in a question, it's going to get answered.
Yeah.
At least we're going to make a stab at it. Cardi C submitted this question twice.
Yes. He said he messaged me and he said, "Make sure Chris answers my question, or that you guys address this," and he sent it to me as well.
Okay, the thing is, this question requires way more brain power than I'm capable of producing at this point, but let's just do it anyway. Cardi C says, if you had to pick 3 cards to collect that tell the story of your PC players, so for example, Jordan for Chris and Christina, or LeBron for Josh.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Okay, if you had to pick 3 cards to collect that tell the story of your PC player, in particular of your PC player's career and their card history, which 3 would you pick? And for this question, the cards must be attainable, and then he gives his example. So for him, the player would be Ray Bork, and the cards would be his 1980 Topps rookie card. That's the first one. The second would be the Esposito Bork signature renditions combo, which is a dual on-card autograph of Bork taking off number 7 jersey during Esposito's number retirement and donning the number 77. And number 3 would be his 2013 SB Authentic sign of the Times quad auto with Patrick Waugh, Bork, Joe Sakic, and Forsberg, which is the Avs team where he finally won a Stanley Cup. And he concludes, those are 3 cards that are fairly rare and lucrative, but do a good job explaining Bork's career if I only had those 3 cards as reference materials in a conversation with a new collector.
I tapped out.
What do you say, Josh?
I've been thinking.
Okay.
I've been thinking about this one a lot today. I'm glad you got to it. And I have 2 that I own and 1 that I don't. Is that allowed in the rules? Or he kind of made it seem like he owns those ones, or he's saying he wants to collect them, or
he says for this question the cards need to be attainable.
Okay. Attainable. That's makes it interesting. All right, I'll go 2003 Exquisite LeBron RPA. It's his rookie year. It was before he had played an NBA game. It was a photo shoot before he had even played a game. So this is like, we don't even know what LeBron's going to be. He's super young, coming out of high school, so much in front of him. Obviously, the history of Exquisite being the first year, Upper Deck had so much confidence in him. They basically like launched this whole product off of his name and his ability to become a star. That's an easy one. Next, I'm going to pick a gold refractor to stay with my own true self. 2008 Topps Chrome Gold, the Choctaws. That symbolizes like his career and his connection to the fans of Cleveland. And then the last one is tough, but I went with 2016 Optic Gold Final 1 of 1. Because 2016 was the year he won with the Cavs, brought them a title, had the block against Iguodala Game 7. I don't think he has a card where he's like blocking Iguodala. There might be like a next day or something I don't know about, but like I just picked my favorite design from 2016.
Nice. All right, let me take a stab at this. For Michael Jordan, I will go with this. I'm going to lean more into the card history than the sport history. I will go, first of all, with the 86 Fleer, because that card tells the story of him, of the card hobby at that time, and the debate that rages on about, is the 84 Star the true rookie as a fully licensed card that was issued in team bags, or is it the 86 Fleer, which is fully licensed and also pack issued? And that's just a debate that will continue to be a subject, I think. And like that card tells that story. You could also go with the 84 Star to tell that story too. Then I will go with the 1994-95 Finest Refractor, which features Jordan wearing the number 45. But obviously the number 45 tells an important part of his playing days history. It sort of neatly bisects the 6 titles into the first 3 and then the next 3 that were coming. And it's also just a beautiful card. And it speaks, it's not the first year of Finest, it's the second, but it speaks to the rapidly growing importance of parallels and shiny cards. And then the final card that I'll go with is Jambalaya, because I haven't done an insert yet. I've only done a parallel and a rookie card, and Jambalaya is considered by many to be the greatest insert ever made, or at least the greatest insert to feature Michael Jordan. And so if we're telling the story of Michael Jordan's career, 1997-98 was the final season that he played in a Bulls uniform, and that's the year that card came from. It sums it up. There's a way to, if I had those 3 cards, I could tell you quite a bit about Michael Jordan.
Boom.
So the problem that I keep coming into is like that my 2, like, besides Jordan, like the 2 people that I PC are active players who don't yet have real big accomplishments. So like telling the story of their career their career is still ongoing, and like they're in the, you know, it feels like very much so the prologue of their career. So yeah, I just, yeah.
A for effort.
I had no effort. I mean, yeah.
Okay. Let's pick.
I don't think that was actually directed towards me.
Let's pick a show title.
I think Chris got his money's worth on that question, though.
Oh,
well
yeah.
done.
And I like that he gave his examples too.
Yeah.
All right. Show titles. I have one that I'm very partial to, but let's just see how it resonates. All right. Difficult on the receiving end.
Difficult on the receiving end, right?
Acquisition day as opposed to mail day. Acquisition day is pretty good. All right, let me just search.
Yeah, that's good.
Logo on my leg. Unload.
I thought that was what that was about at first, and then I pictured Josh in shorts with the Suns logo on his leg.
Yeah, you can't do it.
And it just like made me laugh.
See,
okay.
Like I'm the last person to picture with a tattoo. You'd be like, are you? Did you lose a bet? Like, what are you doing?
Unload a little bit of hate.
Always. Always.
Disturbing stone throwing. That's a big no. Prehistoric society. I don't know when that came up.
I don't remember any of these.
If you do that one, you could do both of the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Fair. I'm influenced and confused. And we've done enough with the influencer ones, but that's good. Contrarian indicator.
Yeah, that's good.
Universally doable.
Universally.
Mungers and Buffets running around.
Just picturing that's pretty good.
Okay, you need to get better cards, guy.
Dealers are gonna message me tomorrow and be like, "You asshole! My cards are awesome."
I don't even eat food. What if I spent a week in the recipe community? We are Schniny Shrubs. Oh, sorry. We are Schniny Snobs. Okay. And this is one that I like, but it's not. You said the hobby is a microcosm. And that touched on a lot of different things. But Acquisition Day was.
I have two.
Upon the reread. All right.
I have two. Acquisition Day and you need to get better cards, guy.
I like you need to get better cards.
I do not. I like Acquisition Day. We have a title in that vein already. We already have issued an episode title that's sort of along the lines of. Oh, we have a title called Your PC Got Worse. From a while ago. It's similar. Like Acquisition Day, my vote is Acquisition Day. I can be outvoted though.
Well, you're the one that types it in, so.
I know, but I would never go against the group think.
You can do that. I'll just put my preference as a comment to your.
You're gonna try and trump my title with your personal title. All right. We good with that? Acquisition Day?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right.
I like it.
All right, guys. See you guys next week.
We're reaching the top.
A lot has changed since Card Ladder began. We started with 500 cards in our database, and now we have over 3 million cards and over 30 million sales.
For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
With Card Ladder's sales history feature, we have virtually every card in our system. If the card you are looking for ever sold on one of these platforms, you can find it using Card Ladder's sales history, and you can add a card to your collection with just one click.
My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Plus, every card, no matter the last time it's sold, has an estimated value that we calculated using our state-of-the-art player indexes. Unlike other apps, when you see Card Ladder's verified checkmark, that means a researcher personally vetted each and every sale.
We know what it takes to be reaching the top.
We know what you want, because Card Ladder was created by collectors for collectors.
Know what it takes to be reaching the top.
Join the innovators, not the imitators. Card Ladder 2.0, constantly innovating. Try it for free. See why Card Ladder is the industry leader in sports card data.
We know what it takes to be reaching the top.
Card Ladder 2.0.